الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So we're in the middle of talking about the sentiment of the Salaf in regards to tafsir and how they're afraid of it. So this is something that we always have to study before getting involved in things. When we were studying ifta, which is like the art of issuing a fatwa or a legal verdict, we studied a book called Usulul Ifta wa Adabuhu, the principles of giving a fatwa and its etiquettes. There's a whole chapter dedicated in it where the tabi'een and the sahaba, they were so afraid of issuing a fatwa. So it kind of tells you, like, you know, if this chapter is there telling you that don't give the fatwa, they're all saying, you know, it's really scary to issue a fatwa. If you do so, you know, I'm extremely afraid. There was one of the Salaf, he said that someone would ask him a question and he said that I'm not going to answer. And then the person said that, you know, you have the answers. He said, you want to use my back so that you can step on it and go to Jannah while I fall into Jahannam. Meaning, if I answer incorrectly, I am liable to punishment and you're free from punishment because you got the answer from a mufti. But I'm liable to punishment. So this is what same sentiment why the Mufassirin are so afraid. These are great scholars. It's not that they didn't know. They knew, they just didn't want to take a chance. So we were talking about that. Muhammad ibn Sirin is a tabi'i. He said, I asked Abida as-Salmani, who is a tabi'i, regarding an ayah of Quran. He said, ذهب الذين كانوا يعلمون فيما أنزل القرآن فاتق الله وعليك بالسداد. So he asked, he is a tabi'i, Ibn Sirin. He's like the most famous scholar in terms of dream interpretation. He asks Abida as-Salmani, very famous tabi'i, about an ayah of Quran, tafsir. So his response, Abida, is, the people who used to know regarding why an ayah is revealed, they're gone. The Sahaba, they're gone. So fear Allah and tread the straight path. So he said, don't get involved in too much. Again, same sentiment. So these are various narrations in that regard. Muslim bin Yasar narrates from his father, Yasar, saying, إِذَا حَدَّثْتَ عَنِ اللَّهِ حَدِيثًا فَقِفْ حَتَّى تَنْظُرَ مَا قَبْلَهُ وَمَا بَعْدَهُ. If you are saying something about Allah, then pause. Don't go further. You have to look what's before, what's after. And you be very careful. Another statement from Ibrahim. This is Ibrahim al-Nakha'i, I believe, one of the predecessors of the Hanafi madhab. He says, كَانَ أَصْحَابُنَا يَتَّقُونَ التَّفْسِيرِ وَيُهَابُونَهُ. Our scholars used to fear tafsir greatly. So tafsir is not like fiqh. Fiqh, halal, haram, it's still great. You don't want to say something is halal if it's haram, etc. But they would fear tafsir even more. Ash-Sha'bi says, وَاللَّهِ مَا مِنْ آيَةٍ إِلَّا وَقَدْ سَأَلْتُ عَنْهَا وَلَكِنَّهَا رِوَايَةُ عَنِ اللَّهِ. Sha'bi would refrain from talking about tafsir, and he says, Wallahi, there's no ayah of the Quran except that I asked the Sahaba about them. I know tafsir. I asked about every single ayah. But this is talking about Allah. I'm not going to do it. He's afraid. Right? Masruq says, اتقوا التفسير فإنما هو رواية عن الله. Another tabi'i, he says, fear tafsir. This is narration regarding Allah. So again, a lot of warnings. But at the same time, there are those mufassirin, the students of Ibn Abbas. So Ibn Kathir then summarizes, he said, فَهَذِهِ الْآثَارُ الصَّحِيحَ وَمَا شَاكَلَهَا عَنْ أَئِمَّةِ السَّلَفِ. These are narrations from the scholars of the Salaf, مَحْمُولَةٌ عَلَى تَحَرُّجِهِمْ عَنِ الْكَلَامِ فِي التَّفْسِيرِ بِمَا لَا عِلْمَ لَهُمْ بِهِ. This should be understood as tafsir of those ayahs that they didn't fully, know to the utmost. They had some doubt, so they said this. That's what Ibn Kathir is saying. This is why they behaved in this manner. They're feeling like, okay, 90% it could be this, but maybe 10% the other one, so they refrained. They didn't want to make a mistake. فَأَمَّا مَنْ تَكَلَّمَ بِمَا يَعْلَمُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ لُغَةً وَشَرْعًا فَلَا حَرَجَ عَلَيْهِ. As for the scholar who speaks about it and he's sure, and he can extract from the Arabic language and the Sharia, he's allowed to do tafsir. So we shouldn't understand from these narrations that you cannot do tafsir and mufassirin are wrong. It's that they're fearful and they're cautious. So he's saying this doesn't mean that you cannot do tafsir, because he's about to start his tafsir. وَلِهَذَا رُوِيَ عَنْ هَؤُلَاءِ وَغَيْرِهِمْ أَقْوَالٌ فِي التَّفْسِيرِ وَلَا مُنَافَةٍ. These same people who said that I don't want to talk about Quran, they actually have narrations of tafsir, but they did tafsir. So this is not a contradiction. When they knew something for certain, they would speak, and when they were doubtful, they would stay quiet. This is what is necessary from us. When we know something, we can speak about it, and when we do not know something, we should stay quiet. This should be all of our sentiment. If you know something, you have to share it. Now the problem is when you're like a pseudo scholar, like you think you know but you don't know, right? So then we need some ta'aleem, we need to understand and learn. That's why you don't ever stop learning. You keep learning, things will open up. And if you know something, you share it. If you don't know something, be honest. This is Islam. This is talking about Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you don't try to make it seem like you know something when you don't. He said this is what's necessary for all of us. And he quotes some ayahs and things like that, but I'm going to skip over it, inshallah. So here there's a narration of Aisha radiallahu anha. She says, ما كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يفسر شيئا من القرآن إلا آيا تعد علمهن إياه جبريل. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would not do tafsir except for a few ayahs. Jibreel alayhi salam would tell him that. So Ibn Kathir, he says this narration actually of Aisha is not very authentic. Right? The chain of narration, there's a problem with it. He says, فَإِنَّهُ حَدِيثٌ مُنْكَرٌ غَرِيبٌ. This is not an accepted narration. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would do tafsir. He would tell people the tafsir of Quran. So this is encouraged to do tafsir. It's just you have to be cautious. If you don't know something, be clear about it. I don't know. And that's why a lot of people say like, La adri nisful ilm. The statement, I don't know, is half of knowledge itself. Meaning, humility. You're humble. So, but you do know the other half. Right? When you know something, speak. When you don't know, say, La adri, I don't know. This is humility. Our teacher used to tell us, he's like, you guys misinterpret this statement. It doesn't mean that if you say, I don't know, that you have half of knowledge. And you just leave it that way. You tell the person, I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. Research, get the knowledge, and then come back. But you should be clear that at this point, I'm not sure, I don't know, I'll check it out for you. So always be cautious, and don't seem like you know everything when the reality is that we don't. Now, the final paragraphs of the Usul al-Tafsir, he quotes some things. I'm just going to read it, inshallah, what Ibn Kathir says. وتكلم الإمام أبو جعفر بن جرير بما حاصله أن هذه الآيات مما لا يعلم إلا بالتوقيف عن الله تعالى. So Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, he says all these narrations that we mentioned where they say like I don't want to do tafsir, it's about those ayahs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give us the knowledge of. There's some ayahs of the Quran, Allah even says in Surah Al-Imran, check out the first page of Al-Imran, verse number 7. Allah says most of the Quran is very firmly established in the sense that you'll understand it right away. And there are some aspects of Quran, Allah Ta'ala calls them mutashabihat. They're not very clear, they're very vague. Leave them, don't pursue them. What is the meaning of alif lam mim? What is the meaning of istiwa ala al-arsh? What is the meaning of this and that? Allah never told you and I to get involved. So the correct opinion is don't get too involved. So this is what Tabari is saying, that these tabi'een, this is their response to those ayat. As for the very clear ayahs, they would mention it. And Ibn Kathir, he says he agrees with it, this statement of Tabari. So he says, فَإِنَّ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا اسْتَأْثَرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى بِعِلْمِهِ وَمِنْهُ مَا يَعْلَمُهُ الْعُلَمَاءُ وَمِنْهُ مَا تَعْلَمُهُ الْعَرَبُ مِنْ لُغَاتِهَا وَمِنْهُ مَا لَا يُعْذَرُ أَحَدٌ فِي جَهْلِهِ. He's quoting a statement of Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas says there's 4 sources of tafsir. التفسير على أربعة أوجه. 4 ways tafsir is done, Ibn Abbas is saying. Not what we just discussed. Another thing Ibn Abbas is mentioning. وجه تعرفه العرب من كلامها. One aspect of tafsir is any Arab can tell you. So you can ask a Christian Arab and you say, okay, what does this ayah mean here? He'll be like, okay, this is what God is, or this is what the Quran is saying. Why can he do that? Because he knows Arabic. Anyone who knows Arabic can do this. So he said, Ibn Abbas says, there's some tafsir like this. If you know Arabic, you can do it. That's why mushrikeen, they would hear the Quran Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam reciting and they would be moved. They're not Muslim, but they know Arabic. So that's one aspect of tafsir. وَتَفْسِيرٌ لَا يُعْذَرُ أَحَدٌ بِجَهَالَتِهِ. There's another aspect of tafsir which no one should be ignorant of. And that is the ahkam and rulings of Islam. Like everyone should know these things, right? What is iman? What is salah? What is zakah? That's a part of tafsir as well. No one is excused from this. Everyone needs to know. وَتَفْسِيرٌ يَعْلَمُهُ الْعُلَمَاء. Then there's a tafsir that scholars know. They go very deep into it because they know Arabic, intricate Arabic. Not even Arabs know this. So sometimes when we study grammar books, like, I'm from a Bangladeshi background, we study certain Arabic books that, you show it to a normal Arab person, I don't know what this is. But we study in the seminary, we have to. Right? And we read some books in tafsir that they would never understand it the way they are at that point. Right? Not to say that I know Arabic more than Arabs, but there's certain things that we study. So ulama, they can know these ayat, etc. And then he says, وَتَفْسِيرٌ لَا يَعْلَمُهُ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Then there's a fourth aspect of tafsir that only Allah knows. Certain aspects of Quran only Allah knows. No one knows for sure. What is Alif Lam Mim? What is Yasin? What is Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad? Allah knows. He didn't give us that knowledge. Okay, so then he mentions one more narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أنزل القرآن على 4 أحرف حلال وحرام لا يعذر أحد بالجهالة به. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the Quran has been revealed in 4 aspects. One is halal and haram, and that which no one can be ignorant of. وَتَفْسِيرٌ تُفَسِّرُهُ الْعَرَبِ. Tafsir that Arabs know. وَتَفْسِيرٌ تُفَسِّرُهُ الْعُلَمَاءِ. And tafsir that ulama know. وَمُتَشَابِهٌ لَا يَعْلَمُهُ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. And those aspects of Quran that only Allah knows. And if someone claims that he knows something that idda'a ilmahu siwa Allah fahuwa kadhib. If someone claims to know that which only Allah knows, he's a liar. He's not telling the truth. So it's basically referring to the same statement. There's different aspects of Quran. Some are very apparent, like a translation that you'll read. Some are things that ulama extract. That's why sometimes someone's talking about tafsir, you're like, wow, how did he extract all of that? So amazing, right? It's not just from translation. And there's some aspects that only Allah knows. There are some things Allah kept hidden in the Quran. So we should respect all of these things and understand. So this was the usul al-tafsir. Then Ibn Kathir goes into a very lengthy chapter about the virtues of Quran, which we're going to skip. It's very lengthy. It's like, close to 100 pages. Hadith about virtues of Quran. You guys can read it if you have the actual translation. I'm not sure if it's in the abridgment, but there's many chapters in there. He's quoting directly from Sahih Bukhari. This is the chapter of Fadail al-Quran, virtues of Quran from Sahih Bukhari. And there's many different things here talking about like where did the dots and the harakas in the Quran come from. If anyone has looked at the very ancient Mus'haf Uthmanis, they don't have any Fatha Dhamma Kasra, they don't have the dots. Back then a sin and a sheen looked the same. You would have to know by context. They wouldn't use dots. So he talks about that. Although in modern day findings, they're saying that dots were actually more ancient than we thought it was. But that's more modern stuff. So he goes into all of this stuff. How Jibreel alayhi salam would bring Quran to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Qurra in the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which Sahaba were known to be the Qurra. It's really amazing. We have sanad of Quran, right? You guys know the chain of narration. When we read to a qari, a teacher, I had the opportunity, he gave us a sanad. So he says, okay, I give you the ijaza in Quran, and you have, okay, my name studied under this qari, studied under his teacher, and it goes all the way down. You're reading all these names, and most of the names you don't know who they are. It's like close to 100 names. After a while, you start noticing some names, like some important scholars, and then at the end, you see Uthman, Ali, Zayd bin Thabit, Ubay bin Ka'ab. See their names in the sanad. This is really cool. And then from the Sahaba, it goes to Anna Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the sanad, An Jibreel Anillah, Jibreel from Allah. So you have the sanad. If you get a sanad of recitation of Quran, it'll go from your name to your teacher all the way to the Sahaba, to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to Jibreel, to Allah. It's the only kind of chain of narration we have to Allah. All the hadith go to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Jibreel alayhi salam. The Quran goes to Jibreel. So we're going to skip all of this Fadail al-Quran. I mean, it's recommended you read all this. It's really amazing stuff, different aspects, but we just don't have time for it. Maybe I can summarize it for you another time. But we're going to start Surah Al-Fatiha next time, inshallah. Tomorrow night, we start the Tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha. And Surah Al-Fatiha is lengthy, right? The Tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha. So we're going to cover it, inshallah. Inshallah, there's benefit to be had. We ask Allah for tawfiq, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance in these very difficult times. Sallallahu tabarak wa ta'ala ala khayri khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yeah, this weight is like, I don't know, it's supposed to be put somewhere.